Our look back at Vegeta's techniques in the technique guide continues today with the fourth video in this series about Vegeta. We've covered the Gallic Gun, the Big Bang Attack, and the Final Flash. But today, we're going to talk about a move that led to one of the most emotional moments in Dragon Ball Z. I'm talking about Vegeta's atonement, his sacrifice against Majin Buu, and the move he used to take himself out and try to take Majin Buu out unsuccessfully was known as the Final Explosion. A very interesting kamikaze-esque technique with the biggest blast radius of any other move in Vegeta's arsenal and perhaps the most dangerous one. That is the topic of today's technique guide, and it starts right now. Hey everyone, don't forget to push that like button on the video because it does help out the channel quite a bit. And if you are new here to Geekdom 101, hit that subscribe button and enable all notifications so that you get all my content delivered to you right when it comes out. I thank you for 6 years of support and hopefully many more to come. I want to make a quick note that the way that I put these videos out, they are meant to be watched in a certain order. You have to watch the Kamehameha Explained to learn about how key manipulation and key energy works. Because if you don't know, you may not understand how Vegeta's moves work. And that is, of course, the Gallic Gun, Big Bang, and Final Flash. The reason as to why I'm stating this is because if you go back and watch the video I did on Final Flash, I discussed how when Vegeta gathers up energy for his Final Flash, he uses every possible molecule of energy in his body with the exception of his own life force to deliver that powerful of an attack. Well, the Final Explosion does almost the same thing except for it includes Vegeta's life force. This is a kamikaze self-destruction technique that appears to be more powerful than 10 nuclear warheads. Of course, this is Dragon Ball and we can do that kind of stuff here, but it's pretty damn powerful. Biggest blast radius of any technique ever, and this move is meant to take you out. When you do this move, you die because you're using your life energy. Dragon Ball Super kind of modified this. We're going to talk about that in just a little bit, so hold off before we get to that. I want to focus on the Dragon Ball Z version of this move, which is what Majin Vegeta used to atone for his sins against Majin Buu, the creature that he and Goku had unleashed upon the world because of Vegeta's own selfish motives to fight Goku with a stronger body than before. At this point in the series, it had been 7 years after the Cell Saga, and Vegeta had already mastered Super Saiyan 2, and with the upgrade he got from becoming a Majin, was able to go toe-to-toe with Goku in an epic rematch from the fight earlier in the Saiyan Saga of Dragon Ball Z. But by this point, Vegeta realized that he made a huge mistake in unleashing Majin Buu because the lives of Earth, including his own son Trunks and his wife Bulma, were in danger. And Vegeta felt he had to do the right thing, and that is do what he can against Majin Buu and take Majin Buu out. The problem was Vegeta was nowhere near as powerful as Majin Buu, and thus he felt like this was the only way out. To take out Buu and to take himself out because of all the guilt he felt and the remorse for his sins. During the conflict with the newly released Majin Buu, Vegeta quickly realized that Buu had a fearsome regeneration technique, even more potent than that of Cell. And because of this, Vegeta realized that the only way to wipe out Buu was to destroy every single particle of his body to where he could not regenerate. And Vegeta felt that, much like with the Final Flash, even though he could not compete with Majin Buu blow for blow because of how strong he was, if he were to somehow channel his life energy with all the energy in his body, he could create enough of an explosion that Majin Buu would not be able to regenerate, and thus saving the Earth from this evil threat. However, Vegeta incredibly miscalculated the fact that Majin Buu's regeneration was several levels above Cell. Cell was a biomechanical artificial human. Majin Buu was a demon made up of magical body parts, magical ooze, if you want to call it that. It's sort of a spiritual type of thing. And because of that, Vegeta's incredible power with this explosion was still not enough to actually kill Majin Buu. He did blow him up into a zillion pieces, but he could not finish him. If you want the reference point for this, this would be Dragon Ball Manga Chapter 467, which correlates with Dragon Ball Z TV Episode 237. Now, this is not the first kamikaze type of move we've seen in Dragon Ball. Let's not forget that the Saibai-Man and Chaozu both did very similar self-destruct techniques earlier in the series. This one just happens to be the most powerful, probably because it's done by Vegeta at a point in the series where he was multiple times more powerful than he was all the way back in the Saiyan arc. So Vegeta does this technique in Dragon Ball Z, blows himself up, and like I said, Majin Buu survived. So it really was for nothing except for Vegeta's atonement of his own sins. But the question that people have had for years, including myself, because I didn't even know what this meant when I first saw these episodes, is why does Vegeta turn to stone when he does this move? Notice how after the explosion happens, there is a statue of Vegeta, a stone statue of Vegeta, just floating in the air before it falls. What does this mean? So I'm going to explain to you right now exactly what happened. What Vegeta did is that he expelled every particle of energy in his body, stopping just short of his own soul. And his entire body became converted into energy and expelled outward in a suicide blast. So he pretty much dried up. And that's why you see that stone and mysterious figure appear after he's dead. Now, if you're going to go back into the original roots of this, there's tons of references in Journey to the West, like the Monkey King emerging from a stone, that connects it to this scene. But it's not really that much of a connection here. What I think makes the most sense is that Vegeta was purging himself of his spirit possessed by Babidi. And the only way to remove this mark of possession, the Majin symbol that is to push it out by force. The Taoists believe that the spirits of animals and demons can possess powers and gifts, but it's at the exchange of your soul, your physical energy, and your virtue. So if you're possessed for too long, you'll end up as an empty husk, because Vegeta sold his soul. But when he killed himself using the final explosion, it was a way for him to atone for his sins, for allowing Babidi to possess him, and using all that power for good instead of evil. If you really look at the deep essence of what suicide is, a lot of religions are pretty much against it. It's a sin. But the Shinto and samurai belief system, their philosophy, is that sacrifice can be considered normal and that's worthy of respect. And that's kind of what happened here. Vegeta kind of became a Bushido and performed the ritual of suicide as a samurai. Am I looking too deep into it? Absolutely not, because the Japanese are educated in this stuff since they were little kids, and Toriyama loves to put this stuff in Dragon Ball. I do want to thank Derek Padula from the Tao of Dragon Ball for helping me out with the research on this. Now, I want to talk a little bit about Dragon Ball Super and how Vegeta's final explosion in that show against Toppo was different from this one. The first thing you have to understand is how much more powerful Vegeta was in Dragon Ball Super compared to Dragon Ball Z, and how much stronger he was, especially during the Tournament of Power. He was facing off against God of Destruction Toppo and his Sphere of Destruction, and he was giving Vegeta a very tough time. So Vegeta, at this point in the series, had developed Blue Evolution. This is, of course, after mastering the previous God forms and training with Whis and Beerus for an unspecified amount of time, and that allowed Vegeta to gain new power and new knowledge that he did not previously have about his own body and the limitations of his body. So this time, Vegeta has knowledge of God Ki, and when he does the final explosion on Toppo, it's not really final. The principles are the same as they were before. Vegeta expels all the energy in his body to create a gigantic explosion to inflict major damage on his opponents. But he knew that Toppo had Hakai energy. He knew that Toppo would not just go down with traditional energy. So in this instance, it's pretty safe to say that Vegeta used God Ki in addition to his knowledge of regular Ki to perform the final explosion. But the difference is that this time Vegeta survived. He was drained, he was tired, but he survived. Now, how did he do that? Well, the most basic way that he did it was that he did not use up all of his ki. But other theoretical ideas could be that Vegeta, in this case, used God Ki to blow himself up, but kept his regular ki in his body to survive. That could be something that's plausible, or it could be plausible that Vegeta used God Ki to prevent his body from dying, because as we know, as we saw in the Battle of Gods arc, the TV version, Goku with Super Saiyan God can heal himself. So what if Vegeta tapped into that healing power that the God Ki can give you and sort of retroactively healed his body while he was blowing himself up? That's just a theory. I think the most logical explanation is that Vegeta just did not use up all of his ki, but because he was so much stronger than he was as Majin Vegeta, he was able to survive it and still use a tremendous amount of energy to knock Toppo out of the Tournament of Power stage. So at this point in Vegeta's development, he has learned how to use this technique as an attack method without sacrificing his own life, but it does sacrifice a lot of energy and he ends up being very tired. So it is kind of like a Hail Mary throw when it comes to using this move, but at least this time Vegeta will survive, and thus that tells me that he pretty much mastered the final explosion in Dragon Ball Super. So it's a better version, but not as impactful and definitely not as emotional as the one from Dragon Ball Z, which remains one of Vegeta's most epic moments of his entire life. With that being said, I will bring this video to a close. Thanks for watching, and I will talk to you soon.